Hey folks, welcome back to my channel. This is Mike. Halloween is coming up in about a week or so, and I would like to do something for Halloween. A lot of people are talking about their favorite films, about what they're going to be watching, and making lists and all this kind of cool stuff. So I thought I would show you 5 films that are kind of obscure, a little bit off the wall, that you may not necessarily think about when you make your Halloween preparations. So let me get started. 3 of these films are from Dollar Tree, and I know, Dollar Tree really puts out a lot of junk that isn't worth watching, but these 3 films I actually like. So let me start off here. Try not to keep it too long. This is a film called Dark Encounter. This is from the year 2019, directed by Carl Strathy. The story is located in Pennsylvania, but the film is actually made in Yorkshire, United Kingdom. And I think all the actors and the director as well, they're all English or Scottish actors. Okay, so the story here is that this husband and wife, at the beginning of the film, they they go off for a couple of hours from their live way out in the middle of nowhere, right? And they go away for a couple of hours. They leave their pre-adolescent daughter home by herself, and they think that's going to be perfectly safe. Nothing's going to happen to her. They have a son also, but he's off doing something, so the little girl's by herself. Well, they come back 2 hours later. The front door is wide open, and strangely enough, there's water running in the kitchen sink, and the girl is missing, and they never see her again. So the story picks up a year later. The family is coming back from a memorial service in town with some of their other family members and their son, and they have no clue what happened to the daughter. And we see the family having a dinner where they're just everyone's very tense, and there's no closure. There's a lot of antagonism between the father and the son, and he and his wife are not getting along very well because of all this that's happened. So while all this very human action is going on, some strange things start to happen. Lights in the sky, people start disappearing, power goes on and off, everything in the house starts moving, like you've seen in other films where toys start moving. And so a lot of the stuff in here you've seen before in films like Close Encounters and Poltergeist, things like that. And you think you know where this film is going, and then it takes a sharp turn and it goes somewhere else. I think it's very well done. The special effects are very good, but it's not overwhelmed by special effects. It has a very human story, and the dialogue and the interactions between the actors, all of whom are excellent. Everything is very believable, and that's what makes you care about these people and what happens. So, highly recommended. Dark Encounter. Next up is a film called I Am ZOZO. You ever heard of this one? Um, the title intrigued me so much I had to grab this. Very interesting little movie. It's part of the genre of college kids, or it could be high school kids, who decide to play with the Ouija board and live to regret it. Okay, so in this story, 5 kids, 3 guys and 2 girls, they go off to this remote island for a weekend just before school starts or something like that. And one of the girls happens to be a Wiccan, so she brings along a Ouija board, and she said, "Hey, let's have a great time." It happens to be around Halloween, so they're going to make jack-o'-lanterns to put all around the house, and it turns out that's all the light they have because the power in the house is not working. So everything is just dark and shadowy. They have candles and they have jack-o'-lanterns, right? And they're playing with a Ouija board. What could happen? Nothing. So anyway, they come in contact with this spirit entity demon called Zozo, and especially one of the girls is very badly affected by it. Now, what's interesting about this movie is it has sort of a Blair Witch aspect to it. They have sort of people being interviewed at the beginning, people talking about this demon named Zozo and how dangerous he is and how people have been affected by it. So it has a connection with this weird website called Darren Evans Paranormal. It's on Blogspot, Blogger. And Darren Evans actually is in the film at the end very briefly. This guy actually has a website which talks about how dangerous Zozo really is. And I haven't dwelled on this because, quite frankly, I don't like to fill my mind up too much with this. But the film itself is actually very well done. There's no violence. It has a great slow burn atmosphere and just a lot of very creepy moments. And it was shot on Super 8mm film, which is interesting for something made in 2012, you know. But has a great look to it, and it has a very meditative atmosphere in a way. So, yeah, I actually like this. I Am ZOZO. Yes, I am. Next up is a film called Antrum, the deadliest film ever made. Yep, sure is. So, again, very creepy atmosphere. Let's see, what about Antrum? Antrum is a Canadian film made in 2018, directed by two guys, David Amito and Michael Licini. Okay, Licini, filmed in Southern California. And again, this has the documentary beginning and the whole aspect to it that they're trying to make you think there's something real about this. Supposedly, in 1979, this film was made in Bulgaria, but strangely filmed in English, right? So, and was offered to film festivals, all of whom turned it down, and then something terrible happened to the people who did not want to show the film. Then the film showed up many years later in Budapest, and the theater burned down while it was playing. All sorts of weird things associated with this film, and it disappeared for a long time, and then it was unearthed in 2018, and now it's available to be seen. But it's everyone's warning you not to watch it. It says watch it if you dare. And the story involves this little brother and sister who go out in the woods for a very convoluted reason, which I won't go into. But they encounter cannibals, and the film has this very strange way of, well, they added all this sound that never stops really, and the film goes between color and black and white, some very strong and creepy imagery, and it's very disturbing actually. And of course, that's my opinion. I've read some things online where people think it's the most boring thing they ever encountered, but I don't know. I guess you have to see it and find out for yourself. But the fact that they try to convince people that it's real just kind of adds to the fun of watching it, wondering if something terrible is going to happen to you. Okay, Antrum. Next up is, okay, we're away from Dollar Tree now. These are legitimate films. This is an English film called Barbarian Sound Studio. Barbarian Sound Studio. 2012, directed by Peter Strickland, and it stars a pretty well-known actor named Toby Jones. And I saw this in the theater back in 2012, and I just thought it was terrific. And I've been recommending this for 11 years now, and I don't think I've gotten it across to anybody, so I'm going to try again. Barbarian Sound Studio is an excellent film, very different. Toby Jones plays an English sound engineer named Gilderoy, who lives a very quiet life with his mother, and just a very kind of repressed, sweet guy. And he does sound for documentaries. He likes to do a lot of things for films with animals, with horses. He likes to spend time in his garden. Just a very sweet, quiet guy. He gets hired to go over to Italy to do a sound for a film called The Equestrian Vortex. Of course, he thinks it's going to be about horses, right? Another documentary. Turns out it's a giallo slasher horror flick that is unbelievably violent. And what we see, he is out of his element because there's a language barrier. It's a new culture. He doesn't get along with the people. They don't like him, and he feels totally out of place, totally disoriented. Plus the fact that every day he has to be in the studio watching these incredibly ugly, violent scenes in this horror film, and then create the sound to go with them. and he has to watch this stuff again and again and again. Now, the people watching Barbarian Sound Studio, the movie, don't see any of this. We just hear the screams and the dialogue from the film that he is watching, that everybody else in the studio is watching, and he's the only one who is disturbed by it. He's the only one that is being affected by this. Everybody else is either they enjoy it or they're hardened to it or something. But he's slowly changing and becoming a different person. He gets very mystical. Everything about this is just totally unique. I've never seen anything like this, and I think it has a lot to say about the nature of violence in films and how it affects people. That may not have been the intent of the filmmakers, but that's what it said to me. So I highly recommend this. All right, and finally, this is one of my top 20 favorite films of all time. I love this movie. This is called The Endless, 2017. And another film that I saw in the theater and completely fell in love with. This is a combination science fiction and, it's partly a science fiction film, but it's also a very human drama and a lot of horrific elements going on and some good special effects as well. Directed by the team of Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead, and they also act in the film as brothers. They are brothers who, guys in their 20s, maybe late 20s, something like that. About 10 years earlier, they escaped from this cult that they had been brought up in by their mother. It's a cult called Camp Arcadia. It's way out in the middle of nowhere. Again, this was filmed outside of San Diego. Beautiful location. And this is supposed to be, according to the older brother, it was a UFO death cult. People who worshipped a strange spiritual entity out in the woods that inspired them to prepare to commit suicide. And he also believed, from what he heard while he was living in the cult, that the men were castrated. Okay, so they were living that kind of celibate, spiritual, physical life because of this entity. And so the older brother took his younger brother and got him out of the cult. Now, the younger brother, 10 years down the road, they're still not well adjusted to their lives outside of the cult, and they still go to deprogramming therapy. The younger brother remembers it as just sort of an endless summer camp where he had friends, he had great food, and now that he's no longer there, he wishes he were back in the cult. Whereas the older brother said, no, I got you out of it because it was dangerous. They were going to kill themselves. We had to leave. Anyway, they received this video cassette in the mail from, and remember, this is 2017, right? A video cassette. And somebody from the cult that they remember is basically saying goodbye. So they're talking about their ascension. So the two brothers take this to mean that the cult members are finally going to kill themselves. And the younger brother says, I want to go back. Just go back one more time and say goodbye. And they decide to go back so that they can have closure. And once they get there, they slowly get pulled back into the whole situation of the cult, and some very strange and supernatural things start to happen. And that's all I'm going to tell you, because there are so many surprises here, so many mysterious scenes. And you know, I've watched this film many, many times. I swear there's something alive about it, because every time I watch it, I see something different. It's like things have moved, right? You know, things are, wait, that was over there and that the last time I watched it. Just, I don't know, I can't explain it, but I just love this film so much. And it's very well done. Again, the special effects are terrific, but it's not overwhelmed by the special effects. It's about the what's happening between these brothers and their tension as they find themselves. Okay, I'm babbling now. Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead have made other films, and several years before, I think this was 2012. They made this film called Resolution, which is also a very interesting psychological horror film. And it kind of relates to The Endless because two of the characters in this film, who are the principals in this film, have minor parts in this film. So I guess this is kind of a sequel or a continuation, but not really. And in fact, in this film, the two brothers are seen in the cult. Right, they're seen as cult members very briefly. So this is also a very interesting film to watch. I've only seen this once. I need to dig into it again. But I love this, and I think a lot of people would enjoy this if they give it a chance. So those are my 5 films for Halloween. Well, okay, 6 films for Halloween. And I hope you take my advice. I really do. So anyway, listen, thanks everybody for all the great comments on my last video where I sort of said that I might not be doing this anymore. You guys were so nice and so supportive, and I just realized I don't want to lose this connection. You know, you guys mean too much to me. So I will keep the franchise going at least for a while and try to enjoy it. Okay, take care, folks. Comments are welcome.